Moschiach wird schon kommen. Als Moschiach wird kommen, wir machen das so, den Juh. Und was wollen wir essen auf der Sudan-Juh? Dem Schorhabor mit Liosen, dem Schorhabor mit Liosen, dem Schorhabor mit Liosen wollen wir essen. Auf der Sudan-Juh. Und wer wird uns trinken auf der Sudan-Juh? Dem Yael am Yeshua. Dem Yael am Yeshua. Dem Yael am Yeshua werden wir trinken, dem Schorabor mit den Leviosen werden wir essen. Auf der Sudan-Juh. Und wer wird uns teure sorgen auf der Sudan-Juh? Rabbi, wird uns teure sorgen, dem Yael am Yeshua werden wir trinken, dem Schorabor mit den Leviosen wollen wir essen. Auf der Sudan-Juh. Und wer nun wird uns spielen auf der Sudan-Juh? Rabbeinu wird uns teure sorgen, dem Yael am Yeshua werden wir trinken, dem Schorabor mit den Leviosen werden wir essen. Auf der Sudan-Juh. Und wer wird uns Chochmisse sagen, auf der Sudan-Juh? Schorabor mit den Leviosen wollen wir essen. Auf der Sudan-Juh. Und wer wird uns tanzen auf der Sudan-Juh? Schleime, Hamelech wird uns Chochme sagen, Moshe Hamelech wird uns fielen, Moshe Hamelech wird uns Teure sagen, im Jahr mit Schummer wollen wir trinken, im Schummer mit Lios wollen wir essen. Auf der Sonne, wenn ich nehm der Mannen sich, wenn ich bin a Kind gewesen in der Heim, in Städtele am Moor, in die schöne Winternacht pflegen mir spazieren gehen und Chalamen, Chaloines Oi, wie denn wollt ich gewinn, asoi harzig, asoi schön, wenn mir Flänge gehen vorbei die Schul. Unsere Hasen, so schöne Stimme, hat geklingen, so früh, bei dem Abend mit Preisgefühl. Schein von deiner Augen sehen und nicht zerrissen werden soll sein Herz verleht und nicht zerrissen werden soll sein Herz verleht. Was denk ich, sei noch die Kaiser. Es geht doch nicht weg an Nacht a Tag. Und nur ich tracht von dir, und nur ich träum von dir. Von dir, du Leben meinst, du hast in mir. Du, meine du.
ganzen Land. Oh, mein, oh, mein, oh. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. If those who are gathered in person, who are terrifically excited to see each other, would take your seats. And if all of us would join in song, page 36 of your Sidur B'chol Levavcha, Shabbos Zol Zayin. Everyone could use some Shabbos. Yai bye 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 yai yai bye 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 yai bye 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 yai bye 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 yai bye 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 yai bye 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 yai bye bye yai bye bye yai bye 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 yai yai bye 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 yai bye 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 yai yai bye 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 yai bye 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 yai yai bye 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 yai bye yai yai bye bye. Shabbos, 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 Shabbos. Zol zayin Shabbos. Shabbos soll sein, Shabbos soll sein, Shabbos auf der ganzen Welt. Shabbos soll sein, Shabbos soll sein, Shabbos auf der ganzen Welt. Ja, bye 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 bye, ja, ja, bye bye bye. Ja, bye 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 bye, ja, ja, bye bye bye. Ja, bye 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 bye, ja, ja, bye bye bye. Ja, ja, bye, ja, bye bye. Shalom, 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 shalom. Zol zayin shalom. Shalom soll sein, Shalom soll sein, Shalom auf der ganzen Welt. Shalom soll sein, Shalom soll sein, Shalom auf der ganzen Welt. Ja, bye 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 bye, ja, bye bye bye, ja, bye 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 bye, ja, bye bye bye, ja, bye 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 bye, ja, bye bye bye, ja, bye ja, ja, bye bye. Ja, bye 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 bye, ja, bye bye bye, ja, bye 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 bye, ja, bye bye bye, ja, bye 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 bye, ja, bye bye bye. Shabbos auf der ganzen Welt. Good Shabbos, everybody. Shabbat Shalom live stream. It is so wonderful to gather together tonight. It has felt long awaited. We are glad to be here. We are glad to be safe. We are glad to be dry, hopefully in all of the places from which we come together on this Shabbat Nachamu. To bring in Shabbos this evening, to light our candles tonight, I want to invite Jeffrey Rogers, who is celebrating a very special anniversary. This is Jeffrey's 40th anniversary as a CBST member. And while Jeffrey makes his way up to light our candles, I would like everyone to rise, or everyone to put in the chat, who has been a member of CBST for at least 10 years. And if you have been a member for 20 years, please stay standing. And if you have been a member for 30 years, please stay standing or share in the chat. If you have been a member for 40 years, like Jeffrey, Saul and Harry and Rick and Michael, we bring in blessings of community and celebration. As Jeffrey said,
It's not quite 40 years in the desert, but it has been quite a year. Please join us on page 38, and if you have been at CBST for 40 years, you are invited to stay standing or be seated.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu le'adlik shel Shabbat.
We welcome in those Shabbat angels. There's a story that says that if Shabbat angels arrive and they see lit candles and a set table and a smile, a home and hearts that are ready for Shabbat and are eager for its arrival, then they say, may it be so next week. And so may it be so that our Shabbatot are always filled with such light and such love. Please rise on page 40 in body and in spirit for Sholom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi-melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi-melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi-melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeichen l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi-melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Take a moment as you settle yourselves back in. Wish each other Shabbat Shalom. Wave, blow kisses. Say hi to each other in the chat. If you've got our Shabbat program handy, either literally at hand, or we always put the link to both our Siddur and our Shabbat program every week in the caption of our Facebook live stream. It's got its own special link on our CBST live stream page. I want you to look for just a second on page 2 at the wide world of music that will be encompassed over the Psalms of Kabbalat Shabbat tonight. We're going to start with a Western Sephardic melody that Joyce tells me is mostly in the style of Western Sephardic. For Psalm 97, when we sing the words, Or zarua la tzadik ul yishrei lev simcha, light is sown for the righteous, this is a special Mizrahi melody that harkens particularly to the moment we are on the Jewish calendar, it being Tu B'Av, this Shabbos, a celebration of love in many forms. And so the words et dodim, to which we take the melody and apply them to Psalm 97, they come from Shir HaShirim. They come from Song of Songs. And then when it's time for Psalm 29 and we all rise together, we will return to Yiddish melodies, and you have even more to come. Every time I look at this menu, I am struck by the brilliance and the breadth and the depth of our musical director, Joyce Rosenzweig, who takes us on a journey every Shabbat, not just through our emotions, but also through time and also all around the world. So page 52, as we begin with Psalm 95, Lechu Niranana, come, let us rejoice. Page 56. Please rise in body and in spirit from Mizmor LeDavid on page 62. Please be seated. As we sing Lecha Dodi live tonight, not cutting to the archival video feed, I would love for us to take notice of the language of love that is repeated in every verse, in every refrain, this being the moment and the season for love, to see the many different ways that encouragement and comfort and appreciation and excitement for the welcoming of the beloved. Shabbat is finally here. We're on page 66, and we'll begin with an Abba Yudayan Ugandan melody into a Hasidic melody that works together so beautifully.
Lecha Dodi,
Please be seated if you are standing. Can't you imagine those two melodies searching the world for each other to find each other at CBST? I really like that idea. As you take a seat and as you take a breath, I want you to keep your eyes open. And I'd like you, with eyes open, to relax your gaze. Sort of let your eyes lightly skim your surroundings. Don't focus on anything too deeply. Just sort of take it in. Let it be a wash of color that surrounds you. Whether the room that surrounds you is deeply familiar or it feels very new, just let your sight relax for a moment and bring you into a state of being. Not that you should have to turn off your senses one by one, but you can be here. You can be in this moment for all that it is. You can be in this moment, and yet you can be somewhere else. And every time you feel yourself sort of traveling away from the present, if it's something on your to-do list, if it's something that you're still working through that happened to you, whenever that happens, try to return to your breath. Try to really focus with your eyes open on how maybe you can see your chest rise a little bit. Or maybe you feel a slight expanse, even in your eyeballs. New blood rushing through your veins. Cells growing and multiplying, all of the things that you can see that change about you every day, and all of the things that you cannot see. Just take a moment, taking time out of time. How often do we have a moment to do this? Even those who are very disciplined, how often do you get a moment in the midst of something happening to stop and appreciate it? And so take a deep breath and really take in where you are. You are in a place that allows you access to a community. You are in a place where blessings are flowing, where people are feeling, where connections are being made. And this place isn't just centralized in one physical location. It exists so far beyond us. And so take a moment to breathe that feeling in. That feeling of Shabbat. And as we revel in this moment, as we reveal it to ourselves, this is the moment to give thanks. This is the moment to say, I am so glad that I made it here. Whatever the moment has that's coming after this one, whatever the moments that led up to me being here, I made it, I am sustained. And so we say thank you. This is Shabbat, and this is the day to give gratitude to God. Tov lehodot l'Adonai. It feels so good to give thanks. It feels like a release. Page 72.
Mizmor shir leyom haShabbat. Tov lehodot l'Adonai u'lezamer l'shimcha elyon. Tov lehodot l'Adonai u'lezamer l'shimcha elyon. Le'agid בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות, בלילות. טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון. טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון.
We rise in body and spirit for Baruch Hu.
ברכו את אדוני
Please be seated. And would you join me on page 84 in the reading of this beautiful poem by Walt Whitman that we have not heard with many voices in so long. Page 84. I hear and behold God in every object. Why should I wish to see God better than this day? I see something of God each hour of the 24, and each moment then. In the faces of men and women I see God, and in my own face in the glass. I find letters from God dropped in the street, and every one is signed by God's name. And I leave them where they are, for wheresoe'er I go, I ultimately come forever and ever.
ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו. אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני,
ברוך וברוך שמו.
המעריב ורביב.
We continue with this blessing for love that surrounds us, embraces us through time and through experience. Page 86, Ahavat Olam.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל אהבת תורה ומצוות חוקים ומשפטים אותנו לימדת על כן אדוני אלוהינו משכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגע יומם ולילה יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, ברוך וברוך שמו. אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
Please continue with the biblical passages that make up the Ve'ahavta through page 92 at your own pace.
Adonai Elohechem.
Emet. Page 94, Mi Chamocha.
Yael bye bye bim bim bam. Yael bye bye bim bam. Yael bye bim bim bam. Yael bye bye bim bam. Ay ay da 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 da. Yael bye bye bim bam. Ay ay da 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 da. Yael bye bim bam. Bi kamocha ma'elim Adonai. Bi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Norat hilot osef eleh. Norat hilot osef eleh. Ma'alechutecha ra'u v'necha. Bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam. Zeli, Zeli, anu ve'amru. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Yael bye bye bim bim bam. Yael bye bye bim bam. Yael bye bim bim bam. Yael bye bye bim bam. Ay ay da 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 da. Yael bye bim bam. Ay da 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 da. Yael bye bim bam. V'nemar yifad Adonai et Yaakov ugalo miyad chazak mimenu. Baruch atah Adonai Gal Yisrael.
Amen. We pray for protection, Hashkivenu, page 98.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom. Ve'amidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shelomecha. V'ta'aknenu b'etzat tova milfanecha. V'hoshienu leman shemecha. V'hoshienu leman shemecha.
Join me if you choose beneath the line on page 98. Life is fragile. We remind ourselves of that each night before we go to bed. We pray that we can lie down in peace and that tomorrow we will rise up. We pray because we understand that life is a fragile gift, not an entitlement, not a given. None of us knows when our time will come. The gay community learned this lesson through AIDS, which matured us in a tremendously painful way. Hashkivenu acknowledges the evil that surrounds us and prays for protection. The only thing that remains in our hands is what we do with the time we have and how we live a given day. The knowledge of this fragility can either transform us or crush us. We can either seek solace in self-destructive ways, or we can seek purpose and strength. Hashkivenu reminds us that the life we have been given is a gift. Not one of us is exempt from this truth. Please rise on page 102 with your bodies, with your spirits, as we sing V'shamru.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש.
Following our communal recitation of the Chatzi Kaddish, there will be opportunity for individual prayer. And so you can choose to follow on page 106, or the well-worn words by heart of the Matbei Tefillah, the blessings that make up the Amidah. On page 124 is my personal favorite, which is the Marge Piercy interpretation into the words of poetry of our day and our vernacular. Or you can use this opportunity to seek out the words of your own heart instead of the words on the page. Chatzi Kaddish is on page 104.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, אמן. וילמד יברח ירתה וימליך מלכותי, בחיי חון ובימי חון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל. בעגלה ובעגלה, ובזמן קריב וימרו, אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם ולעולמי. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשו. בריחו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה וימרו, אמן. If you're still praying, and we will begin to end this time of personal prayer with an acknowledgement in song that this is Shabbat Nachamu. After the weeks that led up to Tisha B'Av, morning destruction, we now enter into the beginning of a time of comfort. Nachamu, comfort us. Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami Yomar Elohechem, Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami Yomar Elohechem, Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami Yomar Elohechem, Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami Yomar Elohechem. Comfort us in our wilderness. Comfort us as we struggle to take care of one another. Comfort us in our wilderness. Comfort us as we struggle with this world. Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami Yomar Elohechem, Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami Yomar Elohechem. Oseh Shalom Bibromav, Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Imru, Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel.
Having had opportunity to focus on our own individual prayers, we now unite our voices in a holy murmur as we pray for the things which are precious to all of us, for peace and for healing. On page 130, we recite, Mishaberach imotenu Sarah, Rivka, Leah, Rachel, Bilha, Zilpah, Va'avotenu Avraham, Yitzchak, Ve'Yaakov, Hu Yivarech Ve'yirapeh et HaCholim. May the one who blessed our ancestors Sarah, Rivka, Leah, Rachel, Bilha, and Zilpah, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov bless us too. Bless and heal all those who are ill. Please say out loud or write in the chat those for whom you pray for healing tonight. CBST asks for blessings For Michael Bruce Berman, Ron Cohen, Jay Fisher, Alan Friedman, Yaakov Ben Golda V'Shlomo, Yehuda Aryeh Ben Golda V'Yitzchak, Suzanne Harris, Judith Hollander, Stephen Combs, Bruce Leipzig, Rivka Bat Miriam Malka V'Yidl, Mark Neumann, Rana Rapport, Susan Ricken, Chaya Miriam Bat Sarah Esther Umenachem, Randy Sarakoff, Shlomo Zalman Ben Shena Risha, Urva Shived, Nachama Bet Yaakov Uvernis, Aryeh Leb Halevi Ben Machaya. May all of them be blessed with a full and complete healing, a healing of spirit and a healing of body, together with all those who are ill among the Jewish people and among the world. May those who will not be healed on this earth be blessed with nights free from suffering and days filled with peace. May God grant strength and comfort to those who care for the sick. May God help us to find hope and courage as we face fear and loss. May all who are ill be surrounded by the love of friends, loving companions, families, and community. And let us all say,
Amen.
To recite the prayer for our country tonight, it is my pleasure to invite CBST member and also Episcopalian priest, Reverend Liz Edman, to recite the prayer. You can find it in your program. It's on page 6.
Do we know which one is on the screen?
Whichever one you pick.
1. We're going to go with 1. Okay. O God and God of our ancestors, bless this country and all who dwell within it. Help us to experience the blessings of our lives and circumstances, to be vigilant, compassionate, and brave. Strengthen us when we are afraid. Help us to channel our anger so that it motivates us to action. Help us to feel our fear so that we do not become numb. Help us to be generous with others so that we raise each other up. Help us to be humble in our fear, knowing that as vulnerable as we feel, there are those at greater risk, and that it is our holy work to stand with them. Help us to taste the sweetness of liberty, to not take for granted the freedoms won in generations past or in recent days, to heal and nourish our democracy, that it may be like a tree planted by the water whose roots reach down to the stream. It need not fear drought when it comes. Its leaves are always green.
Let us say,
Amen.
Our service transitions with the recitation of Kaddish Shalem, page 138. Please rise in body, if it is your custom, and in spirit.
יתגדל ויקדש שמי רבה.
Amen.
ויעמד יברך ירתה וימלך מלכותה בחייכון ובימיכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל בעגלה בזמן קריב וימרו.
Amen.
יהי שמי רבה לבורך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמה וימרו.
Amen.
תתקבל צלותכון ובאותכון דכל ישראל קדם אבוהון דבשמיא וימרו.
Amen.
יהי שלום הרבה מן שמיא וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל וימרו.
Amen.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל וימרו.
Please be seated if you are standing. I'm wondering a little bit how many of us have taken upon the custom of rising for the prayers that invite us to rise, because it's an opportunity to stand up. We really hold those precious now. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom, everybody online. Chevra, my friends, I want to tell you that my son James, who is now almost 2 years old, if you can believe it, is a wonderful person. It should be noted that I am his mother, and you probably shouldn't just take my word for it. But truly, he is kind and sweet, patient with furry creatures, little babies, and elderly folks alike. He has a wicked sense of humor, and he blows kisses when he says goodbye to every person, every animal, and especially every garbage truck he meets. But he is not so good at sleeping. We can't all be good at everything, and sleeping, it's not his thing. Who can blame him? His days are fun, his nights are dark. He is a very snuggly little person, and we make him sleep in his own bed. Just like the pediatrician and the books and the other parents in our lives advise us, we have a bedtime routine for James that we repeat every night, so he knows what to expect, and maybe secretly look forward to. We brush teeth and put on pajamas. We cuddle and giggle. We sing Sweet Baby James. And we sing the Shema. With every one of these steps, explicitly or implicitly, we are saying, I love you. You can count on me. I will always love you. The Shema that we sang at services tonight, the Shema that my husband will sing to James before he goes to sleep tonight, the Shema that we sing all the time, comes directly from the Torah portion we read this Shabbat, Vaetchanan. The whole book of Deuteronomy that we have just begun might be read as Moses' love song to our people before we leave him. All the stories he wants to tell us, the advice he wants to give us before we enter the promised land without him, and it's up to us to find the way ourselves. Emblazoned in large strokes on the parchment, the words Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad literally stand out from the rest of this week's Parsha. It's the image we share of the CBST scroll you saw for those who were watching online. The lines that follow, of course, are literally the language of love. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. I was listening to a series of interviews with Chief Lord Rabbi Jonathan Sacks of blessed memory, which he did for the BBC a few years ago, interviewing a selection of Jewish thought leaders. And I came across a conversation that he had with the New York Times columnist David Brooks. Now, friends, I have to be transparent. I don't regularly read David Brooks. I don't happen to be a big fan, but I could listen to Rabbi Sacks speak to anyone in his lovely, posh London accent all day long, which is basically what I was doing. But David Brooks and Rabbi Sacks had this conversation, and they were talking around the subject of covenants and commitments. And David Brooks said something that made my ears perk up. My favorite definition of commitment is falling in love with something and then building a structure of behavior around it for the moment when love falters. Rabbi Sacks excitedly noticed that this might be a perfect metaphor for the entire book of Deuteronomy, a book most often categorized by the immense amount of law that is packed into its chapters. But at the same time, Devarim, this final book of words of Torah, is laying down law and expectation. It's also repeating over and over again this language of love. The verb to love and its root ahav are in the Shema. It comes just a little later in this same parsha, in the verse, Adonai did not set sight on you and choose you because you were more numerous than other peoples. In fact, you were the fewest of all peoples. But it was because God loved you. In fact, Rabbi Sacks has done the count, and the root ahav occurs 15 times in the book of Genesis, but it's mostly about feelings between people. It's never actually about the feelings between people and God. It only occurs twice in each of the books of Exodus and Leviticus. It never happens in Numbers. And it comes up a whopping 23 times in the book of Deuteronomy, each time describing God's feelings for the children of Israel. Over and over again, we hear it. I love you. You can count on me. I will always love you. This was something of a shocking revelation to me, having never considered the book of Deuteronomy to be a particularly loving book. But in the context of David Brooks's comment, a new framework began to emerge. The story has evolved over the first 4 books, the love story of God and the children of Israel. There are these apex moments of promise and declaration. There are episodes of commitments and of conflict, of aspirations and disappointment. Though sometimes each party questions it, the love is there, and it is deep. But now in the book of Deuteronomy, we are at a stage we might describe as actually sticking to the ketubah that partners sign under the chuppah. As Rabbi Sachs describes it, we wed in poetry, but we stay married in prose, which is why we need laws, rituals, habits of deed. Rituals are the framework that keep love alive. We see this in our own human relationships every day. Whether it is the commitment we have made to a partner through friendship, romance, caregiving, or business, whether it's the commitment we have made to a cause or a community like CBST, our commitment won't last just because we feel really strongly about one another. Relationships take work. Love takes work. We know this is a fact of life, but we often forget it until it's absolutely necessary. And that is what rituals do for us, whether they are personal rituals we have with those we love or the rituals that we all share as a Jewish people. After all, our relationship with God and the children of Israel is one that stretches before our lifetimes and after it. We describe it as eternal. That is a long time for love to last, and we believe it will do so forever. And so we build and fill our lives with rituals, big and small, to remind us and enable us to keep love alive. We make coffee in the morning, or we go out to our favorite spot. We buy their favorite brand of dog food. We sing the same lullaby. We call to check in. We blow out candles on the cake. We kiss the mezuzah. We say the blessing. We prepare a special meal. We light candles. We say the Shema. I love you. You can count on me. I will always love you. We do well to remind ourselves at this particular time, for many reasons, this lesson. If you seek to make love undying, build around it a structure of rituals. It may be that we have been so focused on just making it through last year, or the last 2 years, or the last 4 years, or even longer, just making it through alive and something like sane. It may be that we're preparing for a new year on the horizon and working through the process of cheshbon nefesh and accounting for our actions towards one another and to God. But now is a time to look closely at all of our relationships and consider what needs our love and attention. Where have we carefully sustained, and where have we fallen short on the rituals that support those relationships? To whom do we need not only to say, I love you right now, but to also show up for it and to keep showing up for it? The Jewish calendar is ready for this moment and has built into the fabric of our time and our text an anniversary of sorts, a special ritual that comes at this time every year, whether it's exactly when we need it or not. Every year, we always read Parshat Vaetchanan and those words of the Shema on Shabbat Nachamu, the Sabbath that comes the week after Tisha B'Av, exactly 7 weeks before the High Holy Days. We sing the words of the prophet Isaiah after weeks of rebuke and criticism. We get these haftarot of consolation. Nachamu, Nachamu Ami. Comfort, oh comfort my people, says your God. I love you. You can count on me. I will always love you. May we hear these words of love and let them sink deeply into our hearts. May we utter words of love and truly mean them. May we recommit, reimagine, renew our rituals to remember them and to keep them. Shabbat Shalom.
Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami Omar Elohechem, Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami Yomar Elohechem.
Please rise in body and spirit on page 140 for Aleinu L'Shabech.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon hakol, l'tei gedula yotzei breshit, shebara otanu b'tzalmo, v'nafach banu et nishmat chayenu, she'emik otanu b'limud torato, v'kidshanu b'mitzvotecha, v'anachnu korim, ahavim u'modim, lifnei melech, malachei hamelachim, hakadosh baruch hu, shehu noteh shamayim v'yoseh et haaretz, v'yoseh mikaro b'shamayim imah, u'shchinatu zo, b'gavei meromim, u'Eloheinu ein od, emet malkeinu efes ulato, hakatuv b'torato, v'yodat hayom להשבותם אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת עינו. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated.
I'd like to invite up Mark Fisher, the chair of our Chazak Red Ribbon team. As Rabbi Rapport pointed out on page 4 in our program, we are entering a time of anniversaries. Mark, please read for us.
Sorry to take your time. Good job. On July 3rd, 1981, the New York Times makes mention of, quote, a rare cancer seen in 41 homosexual men, unquote. 3 weeks later, 40 years ago this week, CBS team member Michael Levine sent a letter describing symptoms that his doctors in Israel could not understand. This is the earliest reference we have in CBST's archives to HIV affecting our community, and is the first document in the chapter on HIV and AIDS in the book Changing Lives, Making History, documenting CBST's history.
There are many important moments on our calendar that coincide. There are moments of history. There are moments of personal history. There are Shabbatot with special names, and there are also weeks where we just miss the ones that we love. And so on page 150, we will recite Mourner's Kaddish together. I want to invite anybody who is remembering somebody to share their names in the chat online. CBST honors the memories of our CBST members Irving Cooperberg, Harold Gable, Lloyd Gorin, David Gross, Selma Moniz, Lee Pachter, Harv Press, Ina Reznicek, Stephen Wolf, and our family and friends, Vivian Blackman, Leonard Kogos, Sylvia Goldberg, Michael Goldhaber, Sylvia Greenspan, Richard Haas, Peter Hollinger, Stuart Kepetz, Hart Kleiman, Alexander Kneider, Golda Orleans, Lucy Podolskaya, and Shirley Semmel. We also take note of the moment in history in which we live, and we offer our heartfelt condolences to the families, friends, and communities of all those who are dying each day from the COVID-19 pandemic. As of today, the total number of deaths are 33,501 in New York City, 54,173 in New York State, 626,187 across the United States, and 4,155,011 worldwide. If it is your custom to be standing when Mourner's Kaddish is recited, I invite you to do so at this time, and either join with me or respond to my voice. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divra chirutei be'amlich malchutei. B'chaye echon uvyom echon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru.
Amen.
Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach leolam u'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal. Shemei dekudsha brichu. Le'ila min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'yimru. Amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'yimru.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. V'yimru. Amen.
Amen.
Zichronam livracha. May those whose names we know and recite lovingly, may their memories be for blessing, and may we honor the lost generations of two epidemics by living our lives as blessings to their memories. It is my honor to invite to the physical bima our president of the CBST Board of Directors, Sabrina Farber, for some announcements.
So this week I wore a pink mask, which goes with my pink dress. So I just want everyone to take note of that, because last time I complained that my mask was not color coordinated enough with my outfit. I've addressed that. I have to take a minute just to look around this room and say, wow. Wow, it is so great to be here. It is so great to see so many of you in person. And it is so great for me to welcome so many new faces, so many new members. And of course, hello out there in live stream land. We'll be back next week. So we're delighted to have you with us, whatever modality you choose to use to join us. Thank you to Baal Tefillah Rabbi Marisa James, to our music director Joyce Rosenzweig, and thank you to Rabbi Yael Rapport in person. This is the first time she has set foot in the sanctuary since last March, more or less, kind of, sort of. Anyway, it is an amazing moment, so thank you. We are so delighted to have you back. Thank you for your calm and wise leadership every day. And of course, thank you for sharing your meaningful words of Torah. Last week, I didn't think you could do any better than that story, but I'm telling you, this week, you really blew it out of the park, so well done. I'm reminding you now that if you are a member of CBST and have not yet received a registration email from us for the High Holy Days, it's time to call the office on Monday or email highholydays@cbst.org. But before you do that, check your inbox, check your spam, check your deleted folder, just in case. Anyway, I want you to be sure Gina and Yolanda and the whole clergy team have been continuing to work hard to prepare for this momentous period of days coming up soon. We plan to open registration to non-members on August 2nd. So now's the time for all of you members to either renew your memberships if you've let them lapse, or just take advantage of registering now. You get your early bird seats. Celebrating Shabbat with you each week is a source of renewal and hope for all of us. Tonight, I'd like to take a moment to thank, and this is going to surprise everybody in this room, including Lee Goldberg, the board of directors of CBST. In my experience, most boards are rather stuffy affairs, and they meet once a month or so, and they pontificate, and then they go their separate ways. However, CBST is not like that at all. We are made up of me, the president, Harold Levine, the vice president, Mike Izan, the treasurer, Kenneth Carpel, the secretary, and the executive board is Regina Linder, Lee Goldberg, and Erica Foreman. The rest of the board is Sherry Felt-Dratfield, Johanna Sanders, Lisa Green, Jason Littman, Josh Lehrer, Noemi Maslia, Jill Weiss, Lori Magid, Roseanne Leipzig, Risa Tenania, and Adam Berger. Each of them is a hardworking and committed board member, constantly striving to make CBST a stronger and better community. I have leaned on them rather a lot during these early months of my presidency, and I am happy to report that they're all standing, and they're standing even stronger than they were before, so I plan to keep leaning on them. Lucky for me. I appreciate their common sense and wisdom, their willingness to challenge the status quo, their ability to ask tough questions when it makes a difference, and all the hard work they contribute by rolling up their sleeves and diving into a myriad of tasks that they're approached with. I'm privileged and honored to work and pray with each of them, and you should know that CBST wouldn't be where we are without our extraordinary board. Join us tomorrow, Saturday morning, for Shabbat services at 9:30 a.m. Baal Tefillah will be Rabbi Marisa James. Service leader will be Rabbi Yael Rapport, with a drash from our very own member and rabbinical student, Jonathan Adler. Join us for Havdalah at 9 p.m., led by Rabbi Yael Rapport. Join us this Wednesday for a lunch and learn, Making Sense of Israel's New Coalition Government, from 12 to 1. Will be led by Elisheva Goldberg from the New Israel Fund. This one is a register online, and the event is a joint presentation by the New Israel Fund and the Middle East and Me team. And there's still room to register for Rabbi Atara Cohen's new class, How to Mitzvah. It just started this week. It meets on Thursdays from 5:30 to 6:45 on Zoom. And excitingly, according to my calendar, unless all hell breaks loose, next Friday, July 30th, will be our last live stream only Shabbat service. Toi, toi, toi. This is where you throw the salt over your shoulder. This is where you cross your fingers and toes. And if all goes according to plan, we'll start holding weekly Friday night services at 30th Street, right here, on August 6th. They will be open to all, not just to members. However, the same COVID protocols remain in place, including pre-registration. Thank you for helping us build community as we continue to pursue Tikkun Olam. Shabbat Shalom. But the best news, before I go back and sit down, is what Patrice gave me as a late add-on, which is, guess what? All of you who are here in person get Larry Finkelstein's famous Rugelach on the way out. However, now all those people sitting at home are thinking, darn, why didn't I register? Why didn't I get off my butt and go down to services? That's the reason why. But in order to get your Rugelach, you need to go to the vestibule to pick up the bag on your way out the front door, because we're not gathering in the lobby, or else I will get in big trouble, and I know you don't want that to happen. So Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Sabrina. Thank you, Larry. Larry, when is Eric going to start shipping your rugelach from Court Street? We've got customers all over the country and Bulgaria, so tell him. Excellent. Thank you, Sabrina. Tonight, I would like to draw attention to the luscious palm trees that are refreshing our air and making this feel like a truly holy space. Jason, dear, if we could get a close-up on these beautiful palms. Thank you, Greg Passon and Andy Schmidt. You knew exactly what we wanted. Greg and Andy sponsored the palms to celebrate our first Shabbat back in 30th Street and in appreciation of the CBST clergy and staff. Look at that. Tonight's live stream is sponsored by Lee Jason Goldberg in memory of my paternal grandmother Sylvia Goldberg, Zichrona Livracha, on her 7th yortzeit, by Bill Rosenblum in honor of Linda Solomon's special birthday with much love, by Richard Sacker and Stanley Wilson in honor of our 2nd wedding anniversary and 16 years together, and the 40th anniversary of my father, Saul Sacker, Zichrono Livracha. By Linda Solomon and Bonnie Siegel, thank you to Rabbi Rapport and Rabbi Moskowitz for adding to our learning in the Psalms class by substituting for Rabbi Kleinbaum and sharing their words of wisdom. By Mark Susskind to honor Vaetchanan Nachamu, the one portion besides my bar mitzvah for which I once volunteered a Drashah, and we are supported by Sol Zalkin. We join together in our closing song. You can find us on page 44 of Sidur Cholavavcha. This is Kol Dodi, which is another one of the selections from Song of Songs.
Kol Dodi, Kol Dodi, Kol Dodi, Nezeba. Kol Dodi, Kol Dodi, Kol Dodi, Nezeba. Medaleg al ha'arim, mekapetz al hagvaot. Medaleg al ha'arim, mekapetz al hagvaot. Kol Dodi, Kol Dodi, Kol Dodi, Nezeba. Kol Dodi, Kol Dodi, Kol Dodi, Nezeba.
It is time for Kiddush and Motzi. I invite you, if you are in person, to rise in body and spirit, and if you are online, to grab that which you are blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Oh, slicha. It's been a while. ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם. ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה. וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה. ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי, ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. סברי חברימות. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בשבת קודשו מאהבה ורצון הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת, באותנו קידשת. kol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha b'yahava u'b'ratzon hinchaltanu baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Amen.
And now we reach out hands. Sorry, I should say this into the microphone. We reach out hands towards our source of blessing. You can hold the other end of the napkin. There we go.
And everybody online, you're all connected? Great. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
B'tei avon.
Shabbat shalom.
Didn't you people hear the president? There's rugelach in the lobby. What are you still doing here?